Okay, I love that beat again. Shout out to DJ Knock, aka Brandon Boyd, owner of the Mill Clothing Company. I appreciate you, bro, for going ahead and giving me that live music right there just to kick off the show. Guys, it's another Wednesday. I'm your host, Kenda, and this is my show, Minding My Own Podcast. And I got some dope guests today. And trust me, y'all need to tap in for this one. Like, this is super important. Like, for real, for real, for real. I got Eddie. Eddie, thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I got Theron.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. You gotta have your mic close to you.
Oh,
And both of these guys are the owners of Prolific Arms LLC.
yeah, absolutely.
And I put a call out to the community. I said I need somebody with this experience to help educate us on the importance of self-defense and gun safety. And y'all showed up and showed out because y'all dropped both of these guys' names. And that means a lot to me because we got a lot to talk about today, right, guys?
Absolutely.
It's so important. Y'all want to start off by just like telling a little bit about yourselves and your business?
All right. So we're Prolific Arms. I'm co-owner of Prolific Arms. We're a gun store, a firearm training service, and also a security company. We've been doing firearm training roughly about it's been about 8 or 9 years now, right?
8 or 9 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, about 10 years.
Wow.
It's about 10 years,
Give us our
man.
extra year.
Yeah, my fault. I don't mean the shortest, but about 10 years now. I
Congratulations.
started off as instructor, and so we've been very passionate about getting our community involved, right, as
Mhm.
a way to, like, I would say, curb gun violence through education, right? So
Yeah.
targeting the things specifically that are affecting our community with combating that with education. So we've been very instrumental in doing that and building like the relationships that we have. So we've been super intentional about that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it's again gun store which is in West Dallas,
Okay.
and then also the firearm training services. We actually do it live actually at Bear Arms.
Okay.
So we need live range training, concealed carry courses, and again that's a big part of self-defense, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we're here. But we've been doing it for a while now. So
Nice.
that's me. I've been doing instruction again roughly about 9 or 10 years now, according to Theron, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm very passionate about it. That's what it is.
I can hear the passion.
Yeah,
I can hear
super
it.
excited.
Yeah, I'm so glad you came.
Yeah.
That's dope. Y'all got a lot of pieces to what y'all do, and
Yeah.
it's so necessary. I was telling you, I want to get all my kids in there. My two oldest kids, like I got a 21-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son,
Absolutely.
and I'm like, I want to do it with them.
Yeah.
You know?
We encourage it.
Yeah.
Definitely. It was funny because when you said that to me, right, I was thinking, and again, we got a youth safety class. Which
Yeah.
Youth Safe stands for Safety Awareness and Firearm Education.
Okay.
So we actually, again, community based and community driven in what we do.
Yeah.
So when you said that to me, a video came across my phone today. Just our white counterparts and the rate that they receive their information is at about 8, 9, 10 years old. They're
Yeah.
getting firearm education training. right? And for us, it looks a little different,
It does.
right? So, and again, they do it because of hunting and all those different things, but those are firearm safety courses,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, when you said that to me, that video just kind of reminded me of like, we need to be getting our kids involved earlier.
That part.
Yeah,
The earlier,
yeah,
That
earlier
part.
the better.
Yeah,
Earlier
because
the better.
people, I've seen it online where people get criticized when it's them and their kids are holding guns, and everyone's like, "Why is that kid carrying a gun?" And
yeah,
it's we need to teach our kids that
Yeah.
it's not the gun, it's the people behind it, right? And if you get the right training and you have the right mindset, then you should be successful with using it, right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I know that we were talking about trauma that goes into a lot of the things
Yeah.
that keeps people in our community afraid to even have one. I know personally, my mother when I was younger was shot, and my father was a police officer. And so I saw the good side and the bad side of having a gun. It impacted me directly. And so I told myself, well, maybe for years, I told myself, maybe if I don't have a gun, then that type of stuff won't come my way because maybe it's some kind of juju.
Right.
you know,
So,
like people get, but this is the stuff people will make up
right.
because they're
And
afraid.
I'm big on I'd rather have it and never need it
Hmm.
than need it and don't have it.
And
Right.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, yeah,
you
Yeah.
spoke to like the black experience of it.
Yeah.
So, though that's your experience and your experience is different in its own way, but as it relates to our community, like that experience is not much different than others around you, right?
Yeah.
So it's this certain level of tabooness that goes with, even like having organic situations around, firearm safety, around gun ownership, right?
Yeah.
Because in our community, it's perpetuated a certain way, or misperpetuated, I should say, um, in associated with violence, right?
Yeah.
When we think about firearms in our community, right, as especially as black people, right, we think about what violence, like
We think about
right away,
violence
right?
immediately.
So,
Loss.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the music we listen to, the TV shows we watching, right? We talking about video games. Not, I don't want to overly give credit to either one of those,
Those things.
different instances or things, right, or contributors, but
Yeah.
also just accounting to what our experience is with these tools, right?
Right.
And then what our education is like. That's our level of education in our community, and then our once again our exposure is that of violence, right? So then, um, you talk about dealing with that trauma, dealing with that PTSD, dealing with all these things, um, and then having organic access to the education piece, right?
Yeah.
Like our white counterparts, like Eddie was talking about, in their communities, like they can go a mile or a couple miles either direction and find a firearm store or a gun range, right, in the shopping center,
Yeah.
right? But once again, like the levels and percentages of violence, right, aren't necessarily high in those communities, but access to guns, right, they're available. So, what some research we've done and what we understand is that education, right, is the proven mitigator and factor to decreasing, occurrences of violence, right? And
Right.
whatever it is, like think about in our community, as we have tried to pull ourselves out of um, situations, once again, whether that be access to education,
Hmm.
all right, access to government, all these things, right? We, our way out or the way we mitigated that was through education, right? We would educate ourselves to understand, financial systems, such as money, right, such as
Hmm.
credit. Once we understand that, then we prepare ourselves to better, right, navigate the industry of finance, right?
Right.
Navigate how to become homeowners, all these different things, right? Once again, so firearms we feel like should be no different.
It's
Like we
definitely no
have to
different.
educate ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It really is the education because, like you were saying, our white counterparts. I like how you said that. Our white counterparts, they're buying their kids guns.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
they're buying them for their kids.
Yeah.
Uh,
We
a
teach
good
our kids
Don't.
don't touch.
touch.
We
Don't
teach
touch.
them like you almost like act like they don't exist.
Yeah.
And we grew up like that.
Yeah.
That was our experience growing up. Like
Yeah.
they don't exist. And yeah, like I think about my experience at the time in law enforcement. I remember being in the locker rooms with once again, white counterparts and colleagues,
Yeah.
and just talking about families and kids, right? And oh, I'm gonna be getting my son a hunting rifle,
Mm-hmm.
for his birthday or for Christmas and these things. And I would just remember thinking like, hmm, like I never thought that was a thing.
A
And then
thing.
they're 8, 9, and 10, and it's like,
Yeah.
right. So once again, like that proper influence from the right person in education is huge.
Yeah, and I think about situations where kids are finding these weapons and when
Yeah.
and causing harm to either themselves or a family member, and it's because for one, you're trying to hide this weapon in the house and you're doing it wrong. So let's talk about how do you properly even keep a gun
Yeah.
in the
Right.
house.
That's our family
So
safety plan.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So we're big on creating family safety plans, right?
Hmm.
And how just I'm gonna say going ahead and putting forth the effort to uh, jog the spark the brain of people who are getting firearms, right? And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is how you're going to store your weapon. Do you have a plan in place before you even get your weapon? How are you going
Hmm.
to store it,
Hmm.
right? That because firearm storage is huge as it relates to keeping kids away from it, and also how are you going to keep that hands out of or that weapon out of the hands of the people that's not supposed to have it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So one of the stats that we like to talk about is over 60% of the firearms reported stolen are stolen from cars, right? Are
Wow.
That's in
stolen from cars.
Milwaukee.
That's in the city of Milwaukee.
That's from 20. That's a stat from
Wow.
2021 from MPD. But
Yeah.
2020 as we enter 2025, those stats
Are consistent
are considered. Yeah.
all across
So
the
it's
board.
still the same.
So it's
Nothing
still the
changed.
same. So my thing is we've been like coming up with the solution as again as a part of the family safety plan. Are like we got to start thinking about storage. How are
Yeah.
we going to store these guns and keep them
Hmm.
out of the hands? Most of those guns are used in violent crimes, right?
Hmm.
So my thing is we have a responsibility as owners to go ahead and find ways to
Safely stored
safely
and
store it
secured.
and
Hmm.
secure it, like keeping them out of the children's hands, right? And also educating your children,
Bingo.
right?
Right.
Like
Bingo.
I remember finding my father's gun in the basement. I was doing pull-ups on the gas pipe down there. I didn't know it at the
Good
time. I was
times.
like, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
I had seen something hanging out up there. I went up there, pulled the shotgun down, and I just seen the movie Terminator. So I was like, it was a scene where he's on the bike and he's like racking the shotgun or
Hmm.
whatever, and he's shooting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this thing. I'm just racking the thing. You got shells flying out all over the place. I'm 7, 8 years old, right? I
Dang.
could have blew my head off, or I could have shot somebody
Yeah.
upstairs,
Right.
and it's all because my father decided to hide the gun versus, hey son, this is a gun.
Hmm.
This is the do's, the don'ts. Here's the four fundamental firearm safety rules,
Yeah.
right? And I believe in the education of our children because we're not doing them any justice by hiding,
Yeah.
Right.
right? There's no justice in that at all. But at the same time, what are they going to do if they find a gun? How are they going to handle it responsibly, or not at all,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Because they know what it do. They
Right.
know, they can injure, kill, and so on. So
I just want to interject. I know one of the major concerns that, as a parent too, that the discomfort and anxiety in it is that my baby, right,
Hmm.
um, my precious, life, right, around this firearm. So we know that causes some anxiety. So once again, like, careful to like highlight that we're not encouraging um, you operating and handling firearms.
Hmm.
What we're encouraging is um, responsibility and accountability as parents and community members to understand that gun ownership in the U.S. and gun ownership in Wisconsin is not decreasing;
Mm.
it's increasing, right? Because of which we're advocates of, right? Obviously, we're advocates of the Second Amendment right. We're advocates of concealed carry rights, right? Those privileges. We're advocates of that, but understanding that those um, rights and privileges aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to educate our kids on how to properly navigate not only their home but their community, right? So
Right.
I'm going to do everything I need to do safely in my home, right, to lock my weapon up and keep it out of the reach of my son or daughter. But what happens when their son or daughter is at school and
Right.
encounter that situation at the park, at a loved one's house who you know happens to not be as responsible as you, or maybe just negligent and careless, right? What are we going to educate our kids to do? So like looking at it from a holistic approach versus just like what's going to happen in our house, what's going to happen in our communities. And then one of the things we talk about, if we rid that curiosity, right, because kids are curious, right? That's why he was in the basement playing with that gun.
Yeah.
If we can rid that curiosity or combat that, a lot of times, and I've learned this from my kids, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Introducing, we both introduced our kids to firearms early. At the age 8, my oldest son, he was about 6 or 7,
Okay.
right? My youngest about 8,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the age I decided to make that introduction and have that conversation with them, meet them at their level, right, and let them know that if they have questions about it, if they're interested in seeing a firearm in a safe, controlled environment, let me know. Ask.
What do you
Open
think?
door policy.
What do you think about alternatives to teach them, like paintball guns
Yeah.
and
it's a
um?
it's a great way to teach firearm safety. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that, so I have a 21-year or 22-year-old, 21-year-old, and start all the way back over 5-year-old, right? So it's a great way because we put cups on the table and shoot them off with Nerf guns.
There you
So
go.
as I'm walking across to go restock the cups, my 5-year-old puts the gun down. Why does he do that? That is the fourth fundamental firearm safety rule.
Yeah.
Never let the muzzle cross anything you're not willing to destroy. So he's not pointing the gun at me. Then I ask him why. Because I don't want to shoot you, Dad. So he understands, and kids understand at a different rate, right?
Yeah.
Than we give them credit for. Like
Oh,
these
yeah.
kids are very receptive to information,
Mhm. They're
right?
smart.
They're smarter than we were,
Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
So my thing is, like, the earlier you introduce your kids to this, the safer and the healthier relationship they will have with weapons,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's big.
One of the examples that we like to use, right, is we think about fire, right?
Mhm.
So the stove in the kitchen, right, because they can reach that at an early age.
Right.
We think about knives, right,
Mhm.
and that they could potentially be deadly and lethal, right?
Yeah.
They can hurt you, right?
Yeah.
And because they're prevalent, right, they're throughout the house. Right away, we know we're not going to get rid of the stove. We can't get rid of those knives, right? We know
Right.
that, but we talk to them about how to handle those knives or how to turn on the stove. Stay away from the fire. Don't put your hand on it. Like, we instill that in them,
Yeah.
right? And then they see them in, mom is cooking. It's time to make a sandwich, or it's time to cut some fruit. And every time we're making a sandwich or cutting some fruit, we're guiding them, right?
Yes.
Be
Yes.
careful. You can cut your finger. Be careful, right? When they're old enough to touch the stove, we're right there guiding them, right?
Mhm.
Because now we've decided that they're mature enough to access the stove, access the knife. We're still right there guiding them, right?
Yeah.
And we're still anxious, hoping they don't hurt themselves. But then through our guidance, through our training and education, right, we pass that along, and we get more and more comfortable with them in a healthy way, or for what the tool is used for, accessing and using it, and then we eventually let them go on their own. Right.
Absolutely.
So firearms should be no different. They're tools
Mhm.
to be respected and used for a specific purpose. Right.
Yeah.
You do not play with a knife. Why? Because a knife is used to cut fruit. But vegetables, that's when you use a knife, right?
Mhm.
A firearm is not a toy, right? A firearm is used for, right, and we educate and teach our kids from that perspective.
I love it. I love it, and that's what we need to do. Like, and that's y'all. Do y'all do like workshops or like
Yeah.
small? Do y'all
We do.
y'all do?
We
We
Okay.
do. We got several different workshops. One of them is again safe, and that's for the community as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Safety awareness and firearm education, and we got the same kind of training, but it's geared more towards children,
Okay.
right? So the children are allowed to attend from 8 to what is that to
Yeah,
high
so
school.
the youth program is. I'm excited about this topic too, because this is one of our, like, when we talk about passion and purpose. So obviously, like, we sell firearms, right? We're a security company, right?
Yeah.
But like, our passion and purpose is this, right? The community advocates piece. So So yeah, our SAFE program, our youth SAFE program, we start at age 8 up through 18. So 17, 18, right? The reason I say about, with the teenagers is because our adult SAFE program, which is just the SAFE program, we encourage adults and teenagers as old as 17, 18 to attend those classes too,
Yeah.
because there's a relevant information in those classes that, we're not necessarily talking about in the youth SAFE class. For instance, uh, the youth safe class, right? It's animated, right? We meet the youth at their level, right? We
Yeah.
do a Kahoots quiz with them, right? We want to make it fun and interactive. Um, and then we talk about the 4 fundamental rules of firearm safety, but we also, in the youth class, we coined it the prolific 6.
Okay.
So it's those 4 fundamental rules of firearm safety. But as a youth, the first 2 rules are, right? Don't touch it, find an adult. The reason why, because what we talked about earlier with kids handling tools under the guidance of responsible adults. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't touch a knife on your own. You
Right.
don't turn the stove on your own,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to be under the guidance of an adult. So we've added don't touch it, find an adult. And don't touch it, find an adult, right? If that's the initial training and education piece, even if they're going to be allowed to handle that weapon, by the time you can even start to get to the other 4, that adult needs to be there. Now we're going to talk about what Eddie was talking about, the other 4 rules. Point the gun in a safe direction. Don't put your hand on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you're talking about those things. So that's the youth safe program. Our adult safe curriculum, right? We're talking about um, the basic fundamental rules of firearm safety, basic safety principles, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're talking about conflict resolution
I was gonna say how
as adults,
that's
right?
actually really
Yeah,
important because how do you know when
yeah,
to use it?
exactly. So, conflict resolution, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking about that because that's one of the things we talk about that, we see and we deal with all the time. A lot of times when we're talking about gun violence, right, and,
Mm-hmm.
and, and issues related to shootings, right, there's also MPD statistics that say majority of the shootings that occur are um, after or during arguments,
Mm.
right? So think about that. So when we talk about how do we mitigate gun violence, let's take the guns away. Let's make stricter gun safe rules. How about we also encourage like conflict resolution?
Mm-hmm.
How about we start to talk about mental health,
Yeah.
right? Mental wellness, right? In our community, what does that look like? We're talking about individuals um, out navigating the community on a regular basis, attempting to have a good time, right? But dealing with trauma,
Yeah.
PTSD, all these things, and then triggers, but they
Right.
don't even know what a trigger is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Outside of the firearm they have, right?
Right.
So you talk about going from 0 to 10, you ready to go from 0 to 10, and you don't know why, right? Lack of conflict resolution and access to mental health.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things too is professional communication.
Yeah.
Right, being able to communicate effectively with one another is critical to resolving any issue or any argument. Right.
Right.
The fact is, it's just like you ever seen a baby get so mad to where they just start crying. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. Like
Mm,
that baby don't know how to express themselves in a way
mm,
that's going to be heard. Right. So it's the same thing with adults. Most adults, and uh, I'm not saying it like I'm perfect in that regard because
mm,
I've learned through the professional communication classes that I was horrible in communicating, right? Like absolutely terrible, right? So my thing is I listened to respond, not
Mm-hmm.
listening with empathy with the fact that this person is they have a problem, right?
mm,
Right.
Right, and how to mirror back what someone says to where it's just like, okay, now I can process what they're saying and I'm not
mm,
listening to just respond.
Right.
So that's that all comes back down to conflict resolution, right?
mm.
Because if I learn how to become a professional or better at communicating, then I can effectively have a conversation with understanding and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Right.
things
I agree.
to piggyback off that, one of the things we were just talking about, we are um, actively in real time um, partnering with DOC and probation and parole here in Wisconsin um, to provide our safe curriculum. Right?
Wow.
And one of the conversations we were having was that we get requests all the time, like, "Hey, can you come talk to whether it's youth or adults? Can you come talk about, firearm safety and education?" And we're like, "Absolutely." And then there's a lot of organizations and programs that do that. But then we started talking about, man, like that's cool that we can do that,
Mhm.
right? But how much impact does that have, or what does that matter if we aren't also promoting, encouraging um,
Mental health
mental
awareness.
health wellness, right?
Mhm.
And awareness, because if I know what to do with whether it's a knife, a gun, or whatever it is, but mentally I'm ill equipped,
Yeah.
it don't matter if I go to 10 or 20 classes, right? I'm still ill equipped to
To possess.
digest, possess, own, be accountable for the information I have.
Mhm.
So not that it's not important, but just realizing and being acknowledging of the fact that mental health is as important.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I'm actually doing a workshop with a few ladies this upcoming weekend on mental health awareness. It's actually Mental Health Awareness Month, y'all.
That's about
So
it.
this all came full
Yeah,
circle.
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, that's some really solid points that y'all made. If people can't control their emotions and they have lack of communication, or or um, they lack emotional intelligence,
yeah,
um, it's so many things, so many factors where okay, I can know this, but if I got a gun on me and I lose my, or people call it crashing out now, and I'm crashing out, I'm not gonna do the right thing.
mhm,
Some people, and that's what we're coming into. And one of the things that I'm gonna just redirect just a little bit. So right now, we were talking about this earlier. Sade Robinson, her case is now accessible. I was watching this day 2 episode today of the courtroom, and I just got to thinking. I'm like, man, we don't know what happened, but one thing we do know is it's happening too often. Where and as a woman, in it's important to women and it's important to men, but just from a woman's standpoint, for me, it's like that's scary as hell. Like, and I think about it, like I need to defend. I need to learn how to defend myself. I don't want to ever have to, but if it happens,
Right.
I need to know what the hell I'm doing, right?
Absolutely.
And I need to be confident in that. I don't want to just have it and then I freeze up, or
Absolutely.
or I don't know, So that's another thing is when I just think about her, and I think about several women. There was a shooting in a bar. There was a situation with a guy and his girlfriend where he showed up and he was off. He was upset with her and he did the wrong thing. And it's like women, women. We gotta protect ourselves. Like not everybody is here to love us, and some people might start off loving us, but then they can't deal with the fact that we might not align anymore. And then it can become dangerous for us.
Absolutely.
And not that we want to go around waving it around or nothing like that, but like you as a female should feel comfortable with your weapon, and you should feel confident within yourself that if something happened that you could take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little bit
Okay.
more.
So I'm big, and this is kind of like really why we got into it. We actually got classes specifically geared towards women
Yeah.
and their defense, right? Like,
She brave.
yeah, it's called the She Brave course, right? So
Nice.
it's and what that is just handgun fundamentals, teaching them handgun fundamentals, how to actually handle weapons, right? Building
Mhm.
the confidence. Because I got I again been working with this lady is like she was like 63, 64 years old. Her husband was 70, he passed, right?
Okay.
And she lives in a kind of a rough neighborhood. But when he passed, he left a bunch of weapons. And she was like, I don't know what to do with these things. Do
Yeah.
you want them? I said, ma'am, I could take your weapons. However, I'd rather just show you how to use them because she was telling me some of the stuff that was going on.
Okay.
Fast forward, I was working with her like 3 months. So if you look at her now, this lady is like 64, 65 years old. clip, clap, clap, pop, 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 pop. I walked away for 1 second to go get us some more targets. This was like probably a couple of weeks ago. I walked away a couple of seconds just to go get us some more targets from the front.
Yeah.
I come back, she's teaching the woman next door
Yeah,
to her,
that's dope.
and I'm like,
That is dope.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's and again, it's all building the confidence because some
Yeah.
people they just don't know what to do, and if you're not going with a professional at
Yeah.
first, and I mean you should go at first with the professional
Yeah.
because it can be a very unpleasant experience, especially if this is your first time, right?
Mhm.
So when you hear that and people are like, "Oh man, I like," and I captured it on camera a couple of times to where I've had to like you know be like almost a psychologist to the person that's shooting to where
Yeah.
um
That sound,
yeah
it can
they
be
coaching them
triggering.
yeah
through.
yeah
Yeah.
and they almost turn around and run out the room and I
Yeah.
captured it twice and I can show you videos from where
Yeah.
and it's just like okay so this is what's going on. So I explain them what's actually happening. And then after their first initial shot, then you see them actually take control of the situation.
Mhm.
And that just speaks on, you know, building the confidence. So it takes some training. It take
Mhm.
they say it takes between 5,000 and 10,000 reps before you become efficient enough to perform in emergency
So that
situations.
muscle memory.
So
Wow.
that muscle memory is very important, right?
Mhm.
So you going to the range and doing it over and over again, you're going to build confidence, right? And it's again, this lady went from like nothing at all, being afraid of guns, to now teaching someone how to use guns that was right
Yeah.
next to us, right? So
That's awesome.
it just speaks to the confidence. It's needed, ladies.
Yeah.
Are if you're out there and you know you need to be getting with a professional, right? Get
Yeah.
with a professional your first time, and then you know continue the training, build that confidence enough to where you're going to be comfortable carrying because it's some people get guns, they sit them at the top of their closet, they'll wear them every day, have no idea how to use them. Just the fact that they have a gun is enough for them,
And it's
and
not.
it's not
It's a
right.
perishable skill.
It's a
Yeah,
it's
it's a
if you're
perishable
yeah,
skill.
it's a
You
perishable
have to
skill.
practice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Wow. I
To,
didn't know that.
Yeah,
yeah, to interject there, I do believe though, right, that level of fear that most people have is due to everything we're talking about, right? Lack of access, right? Lack of education. So that fear, that level of fear is appropriate, right? It's appropriate and fitting because there's no education, and this literally can kill you,
Mhm.
right? So same thing, like thinking about someone's apprehension to get behind the wheel of a car or fly a jet or fly a plane. Like I'm not getting in there.
Right.
Like, I need proper education, right?
Yeah.
So that part, we don't want to, I guess, minimize that because
Yeah.
that's fair. But with that, there is a way to combat that, right? And to Eddie's point, education, right? Proper instructors, right? Guiding you through that process so you can develop, not only the practical skills but the confidence to once again like handle that weapon, navigate that weapon, and yeah, be able to in a situation defend yourself if you need to.
Mhm.
And also, so I just wanted to share uh, one of the things um, we noticed right when we first started doing the concealed carry classes, because a lot of the um, way we're able to convey a lot of the information we are to our community is through our concealed carry courses. Um, we started in 2012,
Mhm.
and this is just speaking to or speaking to what you're highlighting as far as the need for that training for women. 80%, if not more, of our classes for several years were black women.
Wow. That's
Like
dope.
without a doubt, I'm
yeah.
telling you,
And
like
we got over what 5,000 trains
yeah.
now,
So
right?
without a doubt,
Wow.
and I'm talking about women between 21 and 65, like
Mhm.
a great range and diversity of women in our community over the years have sought out and understand the importance of um, protecting themselves, and then not only protecting themselves, but being skilled enough to protect themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we agree with you. I say that to say we agree with you. We are absolutely about training the women in our community to deal with situations that it could potentially cost them their lives.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what scares me is I think, and I might be speaking for a couple other people, is when you look at media
Mhm.
and you look at people who are trained, like
Mhm.
police officers,
Mhm.
and you witness that even they get scared
Mhm.
to the point where sometimes they shoot the wrong person, or
Mhm.
they get so afraid, so you know that they assume that that's something that we're carrying. I think that's also like a thing. It's like, um, if they can get scared enough to
Mhm.
do the wrong thing, I don't want to ever have to do that. So can you ever even really be prepared enough, even with all the education and the training?
I mean, I go off the notion of I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by six,
Okay,
right?
let's go
So
then.
I mean, and that's the thing I go off, because if I
Okay.
had to um like put things in perspective, it's just like, for me, what is your life worth, right?
Hmm.
Like, we take chances every single day,
We
right?
do.
Like driving a car, right? It's the reason we wear a seatbelt when we drive a car, right? Because
Hmm.
it's there for safety. Just like a gun, it's there for safety. I might not never ever need to have to pull my gun ever, right? But the
Yeah.
fact, the small chance that I might have to, right, is enough for me to have to, right?
Hmm.
So that will be my reason.
We use this in our classes. We use this term a lot, and once again, we say it's really cliche. We get it, but it's real. In this arena, it's real. With great power comes great responsibility. Right?
Yes.
So, and that's literally what you have, right?
Hmm.
Why? Why? Because you've decided on a daily basis to carry a firearm, and when you've made that decision, you literally just giving yourself the ability to take someone's life potentially,
Right.
right? So that stress, it shouldn't go away, and once again, stress can be negative or positive, right? It's how we deal with it. So
Hmm.
once again, so maybe not stress, right? But maybe um, what I'm trying to say is that you should be walking around with a certain level of vigilance and a certain level of accountability,
That part.
right? Holding yourself to a greater standard, right? So
Hmm.
what does that look like, right? Now you've given yourself permission, or you've given yourself the assignment to really seek out mental health wellness,
Hmm.
conflict resolution, professional
Professional communication.
communication. Why? Because I understand right now that every um, not situation or every um, argument that I go into, there's a firearm present,
Yeah.
and I'm carrying it. So if I decide to get into a altercation, um, am I going to now need to use that weapon, or right, am I incapacitated and someone takes it from me and
Ooh.
uses my own weapon on me, right?
Yeah.
So we should be walking once again. We should be operating in that understanding that we talk about being thick-skinned. You have to be thick-skinned. You have to be willing to take the most BS that you've taken, right? Superman syndrome out the window,
Yeah.
right? Why? Because you know the power you have,
Hmm. The power you have.
Yeah.
or possess, I
So
should say.
Hmm.
I always say owning a gun is a huge responsibility, similar to martial arts, right? I'm
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about, you got to have patience, you got to have discipline.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's more than just buying a gun. It's just like, I have a gun. No,
Yeah.
there's more attached to
Way,
it,
Yeah.
right?
way more.
How about learning the laws?
Right,
Right.
Right?
right,
The laws, the
right,
do's, the don'ts,
right,
everything that come with it,
right,
and then having a plan in place. What happens if I have to use my gun? You
right,
got kids at home
Yeah.
that depend on you, right?
right,
Right.
What if you have to go to jail? How are you going to be bailed out? Considering that
right.
information before you
You use
own
it.
the gun,
Hmm.
Most
right?
people don't
I might have
realize.
to have a lawyer. I might have to have, like, these are the things you need to consider. Your
Mm,
life will change forever
I'm
mm.
if
so
you
glad
ever
you
have to,
said that.
right?
Yeah.
So the things to consider
Tell them what
with,
happens if they go to if you are involved in the shooting.
so
If
if
the person's involved in the
if you
shooting.
were involved in the shooting, you will be arrested.
Right.
You will go to jail, right?
Hmm.
uh, what's your plan in place? Like, again, this is what comes with the ownership of a
Oh, a
weapon, right?
weapon.
One of the things, and one of our partners is the USCCA, right? Big. super big to be able to get that because the USCCA offers insurance for stuff like self-defense situations, whether it's by hands, right? You having to defend yourself by hands or by gun or any other form of defense that might come in place. But you need to have a plan in place just in case that happens, right? So they offer the self-defense insurance, and I think every gun owner should have it, right?
Look at you putting us on game.
Yeah, it's
I never heard of that before.
Yeah,
it's fairly
multiple.
cheap.
Yeah,
and obviously we're members of the USCCA, but there's multiple entities that offer that insurance. So once again, just doing some research, right, and understanding that. But one of the things, and I'm sorry, I was interrupted. I got excited, right? I'm interrupted, right? Yeah. Because we talk about being prepared. Like most people don't understand that in real life, if you use that weapon, the police going to show up. They just know somebody was shot.
Yeah.
You probably going to jail. Matter of fact, you are absolutely going to be detained and questioned, right?
Yeah.
So some people's eyes are like, what? Because we watch movies, right? In the movies, what happened? The good guy is the absolute good guy. No matter what they wearing, when the police show up, they know good guy, right? They get a handshake, right? It's a scene the next day.
They be like, you're a hero.
Up, they like, like it's all right. It's all in real life.
It ain't like that.
Jail,
you going to the
might
jail.
have to be bailed out.
Yeah.
Right. In an ideal situation, maybe you got witnesses, maybe you got cameras, right?
Ideally.
Right. Ideally, right?
Yeah.
But let's be honest. Let's think about our the reality of our community. And once again, we talk about concealed carry and self-defense from our perspective, right? So in our community, based on our relationship with law enforcement, right, we really not talking to the police, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means that if Eddie gets into a shooting, right, in my neighborhood, and they come to my door asking me what happened, so what does that mean for Eddie, the good guy? That means that he on his own.
Yeah, he's alone.
So how are you going to navigate that situation? Being prepared, right? Do you have self-defense insurance? Why is that important? Because it costs about 10 G's to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Unless now you putting your life in the hands of a...
Wait. It depends, right? You say it costs 10 G's to get a lawyer. That's on the small end of things.
Yeah.
It costs you 10 G's to be able to talk to a lawyer. Right. Let's say you have to go to trial. We talking about $250,000, $500,000.
Yeah. Dang.
And if you don't got that sitting in your account, and if you do, let me hold some. But if you don't, go ahead and get that insured because again, it's that. Like we can't skip over that as it relates to self-defense.
Yeah.
And now we need to talk about the aftermath of the self-defense situation. Mentally, right? It takes a toll, right? It takes a toll mentally. You got to deal with the actual court system, the court of public opinion, which can sometimes be stronger than the court system itself. People will lie, people will make up stories, whatever the case may be, when it will literally drive you to the brink, right?
Yeah.
So all those things to deal with, right? And then you have to deal with your own mental stress that your mind creates, right? If you are a person that actually care about people, it affects you in a whole different kind of way, right? So again, though there's several different layers to self-defense that we need to consider, right? And again, that's why we're here, right? To help you navigate that whole thing, right?
You bring all that together. I think once again, you talk about increased accountability, right? Just from that education, I think we as a community, we start to understand okay, wow, right? It's a lot to this, right? So, it's nothing I can do individually to on my own, but me, you, Eddie, and the rest of the community, right? As we all as a community take on these concepts, right? And these daily practices, then we start to affect some real change. And education is key.
It's definitely key.
Education is key.
And that just what y'all just said, the whole insurance thing and having to be prepared for the worst possible thing. Like that's deep. I didn't know it went. I didn't know. So this is good.
Free game.
Right. We can say free game. We usually charge.
But we here. You know what I mean?
No, but seriously, it's so much we don't consider though. So much we don't consider.
and it's
That's her
needed, and
crazy.
it's definitely needed in our community because we skip over this part all the time. We think just going to the gun store, getting a gun,
Yeah.
selecting the gun is enough.
Yeah.
No, it's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll use my dad as an example. I remember the first time he finished taking the class. So gun guy too, like just watching the movies, right? He's excited. I opened the gun store, right? Or we
Yeah.
opened the gun store. So he's excited, right? And he's like, oh, I'm ready for, I want this big, which one?
It's a revolver.
It's a revolver, right? This huge revolver.
It was
Just
like a
not
500.
practical, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, like that, because once again, we didn't grow up around guns. My dad didn't have a firearm in the house. We couldn't have toys, but once
Yeah.
again, a fan of firearms, watching movies and all that stuff. So anyway, so now I'm into firearm instruction, right? Law enforcement, military, right? And now we got a gun store. So um, he's excited. Which gun am I gonna get? I want this gun, that gun, and then he takes the class, right? And after the class, I remember him like, man, I didn't know it was so much to owning this gun.
Yeah.
Like I never knew. Like
Couldn't
it
even
was that
fathom it.
much,
Mhm.
right? From even understanding, right, that there's a rear sight and front sight on the weapon. Why is that important? Because if you don't know how to use your rear sight and front sight, right, to acquire a target, and you're going to attempt to stop a threat and protect yourself, you're going to miss. So
Then
you
you
need
gonna
to know how
shoot
to fire the
anything.
firearm, right? You're going to miss and potentially hit somebody else,
Yeah.
right? So once again, like understanding that that's a learned skill, right? You go to the range and you got to do that. And like I said, I just remember him like taking all that in and like having this awe moment.
Wow.
Like, yeah, let me put this down. And, let me rethink this.
Let me rethink
rethink this approach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did he end up getting?
Um,
he bought a couple from us,
Yeah,
but
he bought
he's
a
been
couple.
more
Yeah.
he's been more geared towards getting trained and like, hey,
Yeah.
we got to get to the range, we got to get to the range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. You guys are cool.
Man, I mean,
I
you know
love
what
it.
it is being passionate about the community, right?
Yeah.
Like as a whole, right? Because again, we've been, I think, led to believe that we're more prone to violence than any other community, right? Like
Yeah.
we shouldn't do this. No, you stripped us of educational resources, right?
Right.
And with that, how can we take accountability? Who's taking accountability for the community as it relates to education,
Mhm.
specifically towards firearms, right?
Yeah.
Like like you just said, you didn't know that most guns are stolen from cars. So why isn't it in your face all the time? Why
Right.
aren't we talking about this?
Right.
Again, most of those guns are used in violent crimes, right?
Right.
Why aren't we talking about that? We can directly impact violent crimes in our community by simply learning to lock up your weapons safely,
Hmm.
right? Because those guns are getting what they
Right.
call YNs. The YNs are
Yeah.
getting
The
a hold of the
YNs.
guns and they're doing whatever.
Yeah.
YNs can't walk into a gun store and buy a gun,
Not at all.
right? But
Right.
they can go to your car and steal one, right? So my thing is we can directly impact our
The lock
community
boxes, right?
with the
Lock boxes.
with the vehicle lock boxes, right? Directly. So my thing is having those conversations is how we're going to change things.
Mhm.
Having conversations about self-defense is how we're going to change things in our community, right?
What about like to avoid getting shot?
So,
What about vests and
So
and helmets and I don't know what's out there?
So
Shit.
that's
Dude, now that's tactical,
right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, we do that too.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause what about that?
Okay.
That's crazy. I'm definitely not. I wear a vest often, right? Obviously because of security and the line of work we're in. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say personal preference, right? Be as safe and protected as you think you need to be. But what I also will say is, though we do navigate and deal with a higher level of violence in our communities, right?
Mhm.
We talk about avoid, deny, defend. If you are making the right decisions, right, like choosing responsibly, you know, who you hang around, where you go, right, putting your mental health first, right,
Yeah.
that's your best, right?
Mhm.
That's your best because the likelihood of you being attacked is still low. But
Mm.
we talk about that still doesn't negate the fact that, being, whether you want to be a firearm owner or have a concealed carry, right? You want to have a weapon with you, do that, right? Because that is for just in case it happens, right?
Yeah.
For that, like that low chance that it'll happen, that's what we encourage. But that, like, the avoid deny piece, right? So we talk about the avoid, because people, and that's such a good question. People ask like, so when should I defend myself, right? When should I, when can I defend myself in any situation? If I, like, how do I know? So we call it avoid, deny, defend, right? So the avoid part is every day you wake up, right? You've decided that you're going to take a certain route to work. It's a certain Walmart you ain't stopping at, right? Because you ain't dealing with that. It's certain gas stations. It's certain places as you navigate the community. You said that's off limits for me, right? Because I've decided I don't feel safe there. So this is me avoiding potential danger, right? The deny piece is when, okay, I'm at my place, right? I'm at where I like to go, where I'm feel safe and I'm comfortable, and there's a potential threat or violence occurring. What do? Right? You deny it access to you. How do you deny it access to you? Can I run away? Can I walk away? Drive away? Right? Can I hide? What can I do, right, to deny this access to me? And then the last one is defend, right? This is you, us being, positively contributing, impacting members to our community, right? I'm trying to avoid it. I tried to deny it. And maybe it's an active shooter, maybe it's somebody who's trying to rob me, cause me harm, right? They come for me. I'm ready, right? This is the reason I did the extra education. This is the reason I practice conflict resolution. Like, I know I have a peace of mind that I've done everything I did, right? That I'm accountable, right? Holding myself accountable to not be in this situation. As a last resort, I should be able to defend myself. I've literally earned that right and spent my time, right, committing to avoidance.
Yeah.
So as far as like the tactical vest and all that stuff go, like I'm big on that. Right. So I mean, as you've seen, I sent you a couple of videos.
Yeah.
But so I'm big on like the tactical stuff. But you, like any average person, not walking around with like an extra 15, 20 pounds of tactical.
I'm in the military, so you really had me thinking about. I was in Afghanistan. I was really thinking about that. I'm like, man, if we got to start walking around like that,
it's a crazy world, though.
It is crazy, but
it is.
It ain't that bad, and I'm glad it ain't that bad. Like, sometimes it feels like that, right? Especially with social media and just the media in general, like just hitting us with the same stuff all the time. We feel that way. So, but once again, could it be better? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should we contribute to making it better? Absolutely. Is it that bad? We ain't that bad. We need to work on it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
So. I don't think so. I mean, I think platforms like yours, right?
Sure.
And again, continue to push the narrative of educating, firearm education, as much as we possibly can. That's how we're going to affect change to where you're going to see the point to where I thought about wearing a vest before. Boy, what was I thinking? Right? So we can continue to push our narrative over the alternative. Right? I think we ain't just
education. Right?
Education.
Like we in some pitches we do, we've adopted one of Malcolm X quotes. He said, "Education is the passport to the future. No, education is the passport forward for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it." Right. So once again, like education,
put that on the shirt.
Right. Education. There's this other term we see all the time, like ignorance is bliss. We like, no, ignorance isn't bliss, it's dangerous, right? It costs us our lives, so we're not going to be ignorant, right? We will be intentional pursuers of education, and that's how we literally change all of this.
Yeah. What do y'all think about people having alternative weapons like tasers, pepper spray?
Yeah, because you need to have something else in place, something outside of lethal force, right? Something outside, having a plan in place, and the things that you can be equipped with. Like, again, us seeing like professional communication as a way of defense, but
That's
it is
one of those alternative
right.
tools.
It's an alternative tool,
sure.
Right?
Like, let's talk about this.
Let's talk. Yeah, right. So it's an alternative tool. So it's that And then, I mean, weapons are weapons, of course, right? You got the tasers, you got,
Pepper
but
spray.
equipping yourself with something outside of that, right?
Mhm.
Again, a professional communication piece. You can, like, you know how many times, and I'm result based, right? Whatever results, you can talk, you can call me under every name under the sun,
As security guards,
right?
we've been called it all.
You
it
fake
all.
cops, you blah
Yeah,
blah blah,
all
this,
of
that,
it.
and the
All of
third,
it.
and threaten how many times? But I'm result based. What do I want?
Yeah.
What do I want? So we can't be playing or checkers when the game is chess.
Yeah.
Right? So we can get stuck in there with somebody else, or we can play our own game. Right? Mentally,
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm more equipped than I ever was before to deal with any situation and come out on the other
If
side.
I'm around y'all, I'm safe, man.
Oh yeah.
I just want to
Yeah.
be around y'all, you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
We
listen, you
done
welcome.
found our inner chief.
Yeah.
And if we get there,
Yeah.
we up there.
Yeah.
Right? We know where we know the what and why.
Yes.
Right? You know.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah.
You were gonna say
No, I was gonna
something?
say again, we big on self defense. All right, and self defense is provided in a bunch of different kind of ways, right?
Yeah.
Just like first of all, hey, yeah, I'm gonna show you how to shoot. I'm passionate about. I love shooting.
I can tell in the
It's
video.
sport. It's sport. It's fun. Like
It's a
you know what I'm
stress
saying. It's
reliever.
a stress
Yeah.
reliever. When I tell you when I went to shoot what day was that was Monday, right? So I went to shoot Monday, and before I went, I'm like, dude, I'm stressed. I need a vacation. I need several massages. I need all this. I went
Yeah.
to go shoot. I feel like the weight of the world just fell off my shoulders.
Right.
Like,
Wow.
man, this because
Yeah.
it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's actually fun. It's like it's a stress reliever, right? And it's more to guns than just killing. It's
Right.
more. It's actually it's competition. There's hunting.
Yeah.
There is so. It's just shooting for like the
Sport.
the sport. You
Yeah.
know what it
So-
is to hit a target that's 400 yards away. I just did that. Monday, right?
Wow.
It hit a target, a still target this big, 400 yards away. That's 1,200 feet, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hitting that target, and you know the adrenaline rush you get from the head to your feet.
I mean,
when
I
that
used to
happens.
play 007, so
Yeah.
I got kind of an idea.
But
What's crazy
it's
though
thrill.
is
Bond.
like we
James
fall,
Bond.
like, as a retail firearm store, like we fall under the sporting goods, right? Arena as well, right? And once again, like in our community, I think sometimes that's tough, right? Because all we see and understand about firearms is violence, right?
Yeah.
We only associate violence with them. And once again, like, can they be violent? Absolutely. But they're tools to be handled accordingly, right?
Right.
And I think that's what matters.
That is what matters. That is what matters. We got a couple comments. John Fletcher, we were just talking about you.
Flesh, what
He
up?
said,
What's going on?
outstanding. I want y'all to turn me to Laura Croft. I'm gonna be shooting. I'm gonna be flipping,
I'm gonna get you
kicking,
together.
all that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to be out here.
That's what's up.
But yes, thanks for tapping in. You're Tone over there, like whatever.
No, I'm gonna get you together. I'm gonna get you
I love
together.
it.
What's the show we were just watching? With Zoe, what's her name? Zoe
Oh, you talking about Linus?
Linus. I'm how you like Linus. You
Yeah.
seen her in Linus?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
you gotta check out Linus.
Okay.
It's a dope show, but it's military based, but it's
Okay.
super dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna get you together though. We gonna get you some videos and you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and document your journey with your with you. owning
Yeah,
the
come to the
firearm.
range. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah.
So you gonna show the video for me? Okay, we're gonna
Shoot ready.
yes.
Stand by. Up.
Look at him go.
I'm too old to been.
Wow.
Yeah.
You be gone.
Yeah. Now you know the thing is, I was running probably at about 60%. I can speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm fast
I'm
with
actually
that,
faster
son.
than that. Just so y'all know, I'm a little faster than that.
That was by the numbers. That wasn't real speed.
Yeah. yeah. That was the, you know what I mean? That was 60%. You know what I mean? Didn't want to overdo it, but yeah, as the drill, because these are actual drills, right?
Okay.
So as you go along, you get the drill down, then you actually speed up, right?
Yeah.
So as you go, and again, it's just like a builder, right?
Yeah.
It's a builder. So you do this stuff and you build, and like we were saying earlier, repetition is everything. So when you're doing it over and over again, you get comfortable. That was actually a new drill for me that I was just trying, right? That
Yeah.
one of my good friends, his name's Chris. He's a firearm instructor too. I see, even as an instructor, because I train AR-15, shotgun, and pistol,
Okay.
right? So even as an instructor, I still go get trained because
Mhm.
there's an unlimited amount of information as it relates to firearms. Like
Yeah.
Perishable
it's
skill,
and it's a
you know,
perishable
bro.
skill. So if
Yeah.
you're not doing it, you're losing it, right?
Yeah. I
No.
like that. You stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he like the gym rat, like what we call gun rat, a range rat,
Range
Yeah.
rat,
range
right?
rat, yeah.
Yeah, but no, very skilled. Like it's a real thing. So I'm a pistol instructor as well. I don't get to the range half as much as him. A lot of the times, same thing. Like we go, um, he's literally instructing me too, real time. So
Wow.
when you think about once again, like no one is above um, continued education and obviously that initial education, right? But
Hmm.
once again, like the onus is on you, and we're accountable to stay trained, to stay proficient, and you know, if we're going to protect ourselves, how can you if you don't?
Right.
Right?
You right about that.
And it's fun.
And it's
Yeah.
fun.
It's
It's
fun.
fun. You
Let's
talking
not
about
forget it's fun.
when I
though.
tell you, like, see, it's the like again, I was doing my heart rate. You know, I wear my Apple Watch. Talking about getting your heart rate up, like during exercising,
Oh yeah.
because you want to simulate stress as much as
Mhm.
possible. So
Okay.
you want to
Yeah.
get that heart rate up. So when I tell you I was running at 60, by the end of it, you at 100%. You sprint through there. You doing all this. You got to have body control, all these different things. And you look at the heart rate, it's just like, man, I just did really a full exercise. I've been at this for an hour and a half.
Just
Yeah.
think about what he's saying. If you find yourself right in a situation where once again you done did everything you need to do, right? You got your concealed carry and you see something coming, right? A threat, or you end up in it. What's happening to you?
You stressed out.
Your heart beating real
Yeah.
fast, your palms might be shaking in,
You might be
sweaty,
sweaty. Yeah.
right? So you're dealing with this internal and external stress,
Yeah.
right? So you still need to perform in that situation, right? So what you dealing with, fight, flight, or freeze, right? We know we don't want to freeze,
Not at all.
right? Are you going to decide to choose flight or fight? Either answer, you know, depending on the situation, right?
Mm.
But you need to be prepared and equipped mentally to make a decision. And if you're dealing with the internal stress and anxiety, you spent $600 to $1,000 for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And again, just to piggyback on what he was saying, like all the things that take place when you're in those stressful situations,
Mm.
tunnel vision sets in, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta like put yourself through that in order to pull yourself out of that.
Do it feel like an outer body like experience a little bit?
Yes,
Like
at first,
you two
yes,
people?
at first,
I've dealt with, and what I've always had to pull myself out of is that tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
So tunnel vision, like right in certain situations, right, helpful, and depending on other situations, not so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But like you know, if there's a threat, right, tunnel vision isn't necessarily a bad thing. But once again, that's auditory. Like now, it's you're dealing with auditory exclusion, and now you just locked in, right? If you overly lock into that, then that can also, you know, be detrimental to you, right? So once again, I guess to your question, like it's you have to understand how to actively know what that feels like,
Yeah.
to know what that is, to like mentally and consciously be there to pull yourself back,
Yeah.
right? So
That's so
that's a real
interesting.
thing. So yeah, going to the range will help that. You know,
Okay.
obviously it's in a controlled environment, it's not as intense, right? But there's a level of shock factor that goes into that.
right.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to moving and you
Yeah.
not and you get your heart rate up and you like it's like again it's like going to the gym, right?
Mhm.
With a purpose, right? Like
Yeah.
so it's not only fun, it helps like the repetition, it just helps you build on those skills, right? So being able to have the poise to perform in those situations because you lose fine motor skills,
Mhm.
right? Being able to pull back on a slide or do a slide release or even having the capacity to take a safety off, can be a problem.
Muscle
Yeah.
memory. Um, I'll share the story. So one of the stories I like to share, and this is as it relates to you talking about that muscle memory. We talk about mental scripting, right? And then it speaks to our ability to like operate in highly stressful situations and incidents.
Yeah.
Rely on that muscle memory and trust that we can get through it. So anyway, I used to be a state trooper, and I found out. So I graduated the academy, and I find out right that Interstate 94. That's where I was assigned. Right, so from the military, I mean from the Milwaukee border down to the Illinois border. So I was, out there doing laps. What I quickly found out is I-94 is like one of the safest strips of interstate in the country.
Okay.
Right. So why is that? It's a good thing because I'm safe.
Yeah.
But why? That's a bad thing because I'm a state trooper, right? And my job is not only to, right, give out citations and warnings and stop cars for speeding.
Yeah.
If there's a crash, we're the first one responding,
Right.
right? We're calling, waiting for medical EMS. We're going to control the show, right? So once again, you don't get a lot of reps. Fresh out the academy, you ready because you just spent 18 months practicing, training, everything. You ready, right? So, but it's like, so what do? Right? You have to find some control and creative opportunities, right? So as gun owners going to the gun range, one of the other things we talk about is mental scripting. So I used to mental script a lot, and that's what I'm getting to. So, I would drive up and down the interstate. Nothing's happening a lot of the times, right? But you see close calls, right? So I see some close calls, like, man, like, okay, so this truck got over in that lane and hit this car, and that car flipped over. What would I do? So then I'm mentally walking myself through like an entire incident, right? Okay, so I know I would probably need to shut down that exit, let dispatch know I'm here, right? I'm looking at mile markers. I'm mental scripting and it's causing some stress in you too.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but it's causing some stress. So once again, one of the things about the brain, sometimes it doesn't know, right? Especially that's why stress is real, because sometimes we stress about stuff that's happened or not happening, right, in the past, and it can be as stress or anxiety causing as if it was happening in real time, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, the power of mental scripting. So I do that, and then I would find myself in these situations where maybe it was the same thing or something close, and I would go into the situations, perform, right, navigate through all of the internal, external stress, right? Muscle memory kicks in. I do my job, and then it's not until an hour later, maybe later on at home, I'm sitting on the couch, and you start to like debrief, like what happened. And it's like, man, what?
Yeah.
Like, hold on, wait, like, did I just, and you working through it. But once again, like speaking to the power of mental scripting, I didn't deal with a lot of incidents, and it's like, man, mental scripting is a tool that can help, and obviously finding those controlled and proper and appropriate, I should say, environments to train and practice in.
Yeah. All of that is important.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, I'm so grateful that y'all came today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God. Is there anything else y'all can think of that people need right now today to get them to come and get this education?
Man,
They need to follow us on Instagram.
follow
Period.
us on Instagram.
Facebook.
Drop the tag.
Yep.
That's prolific_arms, right? Follow us on social media. We do a lot, and again, we big community work. If y'all want to reach out to us for the youth program or just adult programs or any CCW classes or anything like that, just reach out to us, man. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is having the best prices for the concealed carry class, right?
Okay.
Because again, it's our community. A safe community, or to us, looks like a protected community.
Yes.
Right. So we want to continue to provide that, man. So reach out to us. We'll make it happen for you.
Stop at the store, 2192 South 60th. I know Eddie said that earlier. We're open Monday through Saturday, closed on Sundays. But yeah, stop in, say what's up, and say what you need, right? Like we are literally a part of our community, right? Somebody told me, I was walking out the store today, some random person was like, dog, I love you.
Oh,
And I was like, I love you too, right? Once again, like we brothers and sisters, right? Like
yeah.
it's our community. So stop in, say what's up. Don't be shy. Don't worry about it the right way asking. We gonna provide all the resources and information we can from our
Yes.
expertise, and we'll do so from a judgment-free standpoint. We're a
Right.
safe space.
And
So,
again, we help people
Yeah.
navigate, like they couldn't get a license, couldn't get a gun. We
Yeah.
help people navigate those spaces, right?
Mhm.
Like, all right, how can we help you? We're going to help you the very best we could, because again, it's our community. We care about the people in our community,
Yeah.
and that's why it's important. So you see these other stores, right? It's cool. They got other stores that's cool, but they not of our community. They take they money that they earn in our community and go back out to Brookfield,
Yeah.
Mequon, or wherever else they live, Oak Creek, wherever.
Yeah.
We take what we earn and go right back to the city that we from. So it looked a little different. We care a
That's
little
right.
different, right?
shout out
Yeah.
to Shepherd Arms too. That's our brother. He got a store in Menominee Falls. He dope too.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
yeah.
We hang our he told me this, by the way. I didn't know this. Getting into the firearms arena, we are, what is it, one of about 12 retail gun stores in the nation that's black owned.
That's black owned.
Wow.
So
One
it's
of
6,000 gun stores in the U.S.
Yeah.
and we're 12.
Approximately one of 12.
Yeah, one of 12.
Retail. Retail
stores
gun
that are
stores
black
with a
owned.
retail commercial space, right, that has an FFL license and sells firearms. So
it's two in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There's Shepherd Arms, and then there's Prolific Arms.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
which
a
is
major,
super dope.
that's a major accomplishment.
Yep. Oh yeah. Before
Wow.
we go, I brought you a little gift. Right. Welcoming you to the Prolific team. Right. Bro, the gift.
Yeah.
Welcome you to the Prolific team. So that's a
Yeah.
Prolific hoodie there.
I'm gonna be out here shooting in no
Yeah,
time.
those exclusive too.
Those
are exclusive.
Yeah, those
Wow.
exclusive.
I gotta
And they-
open it. Y'all gotta see.
limited time there. They only available limited time there.
I
So.
don't even want to take it out because it's so well put in here. The colors is so dope.
Yeah. So those are the camo glow
God.
colors, right?
Yeah,
So we
camo glow.
wanted it to kind of stand out a little bit. Yeah.
This is dope. Look, y'all. Yeah.
If you,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. We got them at the store too. So if
Oh my
anybody
God.
want one or looking for them, stop by the store.
This is really good quality.
Yeah.
Get credit to
Wow.
Eddie. That's his design too. He found that vendor, and yeah, we've been really successful. We've got a lot of positive feedback about the quality.
But those are limited, right? So after we done selling them, we not selling that no more because we trying to make those exclusive joints right there. Wow, that's fire! Oh yeah, come pick one up, Andrea.
Come get one. Wow,
Yeah.
we go. Let's get together. Let's get together. I want to do something like that. I want to get a group of ladies together,
Yeah.
and we about to mob deep on y'all. We
Yeah,
gonna,
Yeah.
we
Let's
gonna
do it.
learn
That'd be
together.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. You were? Oh yeah, we doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
for
do
sure.
it. Yeah,
I'm
let's
excited.
do it. Yeah,
Can I ask y'all one more thing before we go?
absolutely.
We talk about CCW. A lot of people hear that, they don't exactly understand what that class entails, what to expect from it, and once you're done with the class, what next?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll start and I'll let Eddie wrap up. So, CCW class, CCW stands for Concealed Carry Weapon. So when you hear concealed carry or CCW license, CCW permit, or just CCW, it's all the same thing. And what it is, from as it relates to Prolific Arms, what it is, right? It is a about 4.5 hour, 1 day course.
Okay.
We talk about obviously firearm safety. We talk about firearm handling. We talk about the importance of a family safety plan, encounters with law enforcement, and we also talk about the legalities around being a citizen who chooses to carry a concealed carry firearm. And then we walk you through the process to get your permit in the mail, right, from DOJ. And then we talk about frequency of renewal, how much it costs. We provide you A to Z, right, what that process looks like.
Right. So what it is essentially is a firearm safety course, right? And we provide proof of training that's required by the state of Wisconsin in order to have a concealed carry license.
Okay.
So once we give you your certificate, then you submit with an application to the state, and it generally takes about 21 days to process the application. That's what they say, but they've been pumping them out pretty quick. Normally, it's between 7 to 12 business days.
Okay.
Right. So,
You get a card,
yeah,
a permit, like an actual card
yeah.
in the mail, and yeah, you know you carry that. That's your proof. That's your proof that you are a concealed carry license holder.
Okay. And then do you also recommend like what weapon someone should
Absolutely.
purchase
Oh yeah,
next?
yeah.
Absolutely.
There is.
Something this real out of
Yeah,
So-
right.
so-
you know, think about
Which
concealed
one do you
carry, right?
need?
So thinking about concealed carry,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You're getting a weapon to concealed carry. So obviously, now you're talking about compact, full size, subcompact, and that all that is talking about is size of weapon, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you definitely want to consider something compact or subcompact when you talk about concealed carrying, right? Because you want to be anonymous.
So when I talk about it, I always tell people when the people ask me, and it's one of the most frequent questions I would get is, what kind of weapon should I get, or what should I own?
Yeah.
Right. So my thing is purpose. What's your purpose of this weapon? Is it for home defense? Is it for concealed carry? Right. Ladies, you have much more diverse wardrobe options than men. Right. Are you going to have a gun that's big enough to where, again, if you're wearing leggings, do you want it to be shown?
Right.
The whole purpose of concealed carry is to actually
Conceal
conceal the
it.
weapon to where the public's not going to know you even have a weapon to begin with, right?
Okay.
We
Because
talk about
again,
methods too in the class.
so we
That's
talk
another
about,
class.
that's something that we talk about is methods on how to properly conceal your weapon, right? Because it's big. Because
Yeah.
one of the things I can show you about 20 videos of people being stripped of their weapons, right, in the city of Milwaukee.
Wow.
Right. Women are targeted more than men when it comes to stuff like that. I've seen women wrestle to the ground because their gun was showing it, or they were ineffectively like carrying their weapon, concealing
Yeah.
their weapon, and they've been wrestled to the ground. I'll send you a couple videos.
I
on
did
it,
see
right?
one
Yeah.
within the last 6 months or so. A young lady was in a convenience store. She had it on her hip,
Yeah.
and some dude just grabbed it right off
Yeah.
her.
We show a few
Like-
videos in our course too. But yeah, that's the importance of, we tell people like, they'll come to the class and then they're like, can I open carry too? You absolutely can. That's actually, that's your Second Amendment right? You don't need to take a concealed carry course to open carry, right? But you thinking about the examples that you mentioned and Eddie mentioned, you make yourself a target, right? So the reason you decided to conceal carry is because you want to be anonymous with your carry, and then you maintain a tactical advantage, right? You don't want to be targeted. You don't want the world knowing, right? This is for my protection and my protection only, right? Self-defense, and I don't want to be a target.
That part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you get that showing people, then
Yeah.
it's then the wrong reason.
Some people see it as a deterrent.
Yeah.
Some people see it as a deterrent, but
Yeah.
it's more of a attraction than a deterrent.
Yeah.
And so my thing is,
Yeah.
action beats reaction every
There you go.
time. So
That's
if
it.
you're showing me you got a gun, first of all, you're probably going to be the first person I shoot.
Yeah.
If I'm a bad guy and I'm
Right.
looking to rob the place or do whatever, oh, they got a gun. In a bank robbery, who's the first person to get shot? Security,
guard,
right?
Yeah.
Because they know he got a gun, right?
Yeah.
So again, if you're showing that you have a weapon, you will be
You will be
targeted
targeted.
first.
Yeah.
So the tactical advantage that you have is concealing your weapon
There
properly.
you go.
Properly considered. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys.
for sure.
Look at y'all. Oh, I'm about to be wearing this tomorrow. Um,
Oh, we got some shoes and that stuff.
I
Yeah.
love it. I'm sure I do. I'm
Yeah.
sure I do. So y'all be looking out for next week. I got another dope episode flyer on the way. It's part 2 to this. We're gonna be learning about some martial arts and more gun safety next week. So y'all tap in next Wednesday. I'm your host, Kenda. This is my own podcast, and I'll see y'all later.